I woke up in a room I didn't recognize. The walls were beige, institutional. There was a smell, antiseptic mixed with something else, something that reminded me of decay masked by air freshener. A woman in scrubs walked past the doorway without looking in. I tried to sit up, but my body felt heavy, sluggish. "Excuse me," I called out. My voice sounded strange, thick. The woman stopped, backed up, appeared in the doorway with that professional smile healthcare workers perfect over years of practice. "Oh, Mr. Harrison, you're awake. How are you feeling?" "Where am I?" "Riverside Extended Care Facility. You've been here for 5 days now." 5 days? I blinked, trying to focus through the fog in my head. "There's been a mistake. I went in for knee surgery. Why am I in a care facility?" "My name is James Harrison. I'm 70 years old, and until a week ago, I was living independently in the house I'd built myself 40 years ago. I'm a retired civil engineer. I designed water treatment systems, bridges, municipal infrastructure across 3 states. I'm not senile, I'm not incompetent. I'm a man who went into the hospital for a routine knee replacement and woke up imprisoned in a nursing home I never agreed to enter." Let me back up. 3 weeks ago, I went to my orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Patricia Chen, for my pre-op appointment. My left knee had been bothering me for 2 years. Arthritis, bone on bone, the usual wear from 70 years of life. Dr. Chen recommended a total knee replacement. "You're healthy otherwise, Mr. Harrison. Good candidate for surgery. You'll be walking better within 6 weeks." I scheduled the surgery for a Tuesday. My son Marcus and my daughter Linda both knew about it. Marcus lived 20 minutes away, had 2 teenagers, worked in finance. Linda lived across town, was a high school teacher, divorced with 1 daughter. We weren't an especially close family. I'd raised them mostly alone after their mother died when they were young, but we stayed in touch. Sunday dinners once a month, holidays together, that sort of thing. The night before surgery, Marcus called. "Dad, Linda and I have been talking. We think it might be good if you stayed with one of us during recovery. So someone can help with medications, physical therapy appointments, that kind of thing." "I'll be fine at home. Dr. Chen said I'd be walking with a walker within days." "Still, Dad, you're 70, living alone. What if you fall?" "Then I'll use my medical alert button. I'm not helpless, Marcus." "We're just trying to help." His voice had an edge I didn't quite recognize. Irritation? Frustration? "Let's talk about it after the surgery. See how you're feeling." I went into surgery Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. Dr. Chen met me in pre-op. "Ready to get this over with, James?" "More than ready." "You'll wake up in recovery, spend a few hours there, then move to a regular room, overnight observation, then home tomorrow if everything looks good." The anesthesiologist, Dr. Patel, explained the process. "You'll start coming around about 30 minutes after we finish. By this evening, you should feel clear-headed." That's what should have happened. The last thing I remember is Dr. Patel saying, "Count backwards from 10. I got to 7. The next clear memory is 5 days later, waking up in that beige room at Riverside Extended Care. Everything in between is gone. Dr. Chen's medical records tell a different story than Marcus and Linda's version. Her notes say, "Patient tolerated procedure well. Awoke in recovery at 9:47 a.m., oriented. By 2 p.m., fully alert, conversing normally. Cleared for discharge tomorrow." I was fine Tuesday, ready to go home Wednesday. But I didn't go home because Marcus and Linda arrived with a psychiatrist I'd never met, Dr. Raymond Foster, not Dr. Chen's recommendation, a private psychiatrist Marcus had hired. Dr. Foster's actual notes said, "Patient appears groggy but responsive, answers appropriately, some post-anesthesia confusion, normal, recommend follow-up in 1 week." But somehow a different psychiatric evaluation appeared in the guardianship filing, one claiming I was hallucinating, combative, unable to care for myself. And Wednesday morning, instead of going home, I was transported to Riverside, heavily sedated from medications not prescribed by Dr. Chen, medications ordered by Dr. Foster at Marcus and Linda's request.
"I need to speak to whoever's in charge," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "There's been a serious mistake." The nurse, her name tag said Bethany, nodded sympathetically. "I'll let the administrator know you're awake and oriented. But Mr. Harrison, your children signed all the paperwork. They said you'd agreed to a temporary stay here for rehabilitation. I never agreed to anything." "I'm sure they'll be by to visit soon. You can discuss it with them." She left before I could argue further. I tried to piece together what had happened. Surgery on Tuesday. Today was Sunday? 5 days. What had happened in those 5 days? Why couldn't I remember? I looked around the room more carefully. It was small, maybe 12 by 12 feet, hospital-style bed, a chair, a small dresser, a TV mounted on the wall. My clothes weren't in the dresser, just hospital gowns and some generic sweatpants and shirts I didn't recognize. Where were my things? My phone? My wallet? I stood up, testing my knee. It was sore, bandaged, but functional. The surgery apparently gone fine. I could walk, slowly, with some pain, but nothing unbearable. I made my way to the door. It wasn't locked, but when I stepped into the hallway, Bethany appeared immediately. "Mr. Harrison, you should be resting. You just had major surgery." "I'm leaving." "Sir, you can't just leave. Your children have legal guardianship." The words hit me like a punch. "What did you say?" "Your children were granted emergency guardianship due to your medical condition. They felt you couldn't make adequate decisions about your care, so they petitioned the court. It was approved 3 days ago." "That's impossible. I'm perfectly competent. I never had a hearing. I never spoke to a judge." Bethany's smile was sympathetic but firm. "I don't know the details, Mr. Harrison, but I do know you can't leave without their permission. Why don't you go back to your room and rest? I'm sure they'll be visiting soon."
I wasn't under arrest. I wasn't committed. But somehow I also wasn't free to leave. My own children had declared me incompetent and locked me in a nursing home. I went back to my room, my mind racing. This couldn't be legal. You can't just declare someone incompetent and institutionalize them without a hearing, without evidence, without due process. Could you? Marcus arrived that afternoon, Linda with him. They both looked concerned, solicitous, like they were visiting a sick relative, which I suppose they thought they were. "Dad, you're awake. How are you feeling?" Marcus sat in the chair beside my bed. Linda stood by the door. "How am I feeling? I'm furious. What the hell is going on? Why am I in a nursing home? What's this about guardianship?" "Dad, please calm down." Marcus's voice was soothing, the way you'd talk to a confused child. "You had a bad reaction to the anesthesia. You were disoriented, combative. The hospital staff was concerned. We were concerned." "I don't remember any of that." "That's part of the problem. You don't remember. After surgery, you tried to pull out your IV. You were talking to people who weren't there. You insisted Mom was in the room, Dad. Mom's been dead for 35 years. I stared at him. I had no memory of this. But anesthesia can cause delirium, especially in older patients. I knew that. Even if that happened right after surgery, that's temporary. It doesn't justify this. It wasn't just after surgery, Linda spoke for the first time. It continued for 2 days. The hospital psychiatrist evaluated you. She recommended you not be released to live alone. She said you needed supervised care. Then I want to see that evaluation. I want to talk to that psychiatrist. I want to understand what the hell happened. The evaluation is part of the guardianship filing, Marcus said. We can show you the paperwork. But Dad, we did this because we love you. We're worried about you. Living alone in that big house at your age, it's not safe. It's my house. I built it myself, and I'm perfectly capable of living independently. Are you? Marcus leaned forward. Dad, when's the last time you saw a doctor before this surgery? When's the last time you balanced your checkbook? When's the last time you remembered to take out the trash on the right day? What are you talking about? We've been worried for months. You're forgetting things, repeating yourself. We found spoiled food in your fridge last time we visited. You wore the same shirt 3 days in a row.
These are signs, Dad. Signs that you need help. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen them. Had they been by recently? Had I repeated myself? The anesthesia fog was still thick in my head, making it hard to think clearly. I want to go home, I said. Whatever happened after surgery, I'm fine now. Look at me. I'm coherent, I'm oriented, I know who I am, where I am, what year it is. That's great, Dad, but the guardianship is in place. You'll stay here for rehabilitation, work with physical therapy, get your strength back, then we'll reassess. Marcus stood. We're doing this for your own good. After they left, I sat on the bed trying to control my rising panic. This was a nightmare. I'd gone in for knee surgery and woken up in a prison. My own children had declared me incompetent, taken legal control of my life, and institutionalized me. I needed help. But who? I didn't have my phone, didn't have access to the outside world. Bethany had said I couldn't leave without my children's permission. How long could they keep me here? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the conversation with Marcus and Linda. Something felt wrong. Not just the situation, but their demeanor. They'd seemed too prepared, too rehearsed, like they'd planned exactly what to say. The next morning, a different nurse came in, younger, friendlier. Her name tag said Amy. "How's the knee feeling, Mr. Harrison?" "Fine. Amy, can I ask you something? How long do people usually stay here for knee replacement rehab?" "Usually 2 to 3 weeks. Then they go home or to a less intensive facility." "And after that, if someone has guardianship, can they keep me here longer?" That's really a question for the administrator or your family. But legally, yes, if guardianship is in place, your guardians make those decisions. What if I don't agree with those decisions? You'd need to petition the court to revoke the guardianship. You'd need a lawyer. Can I make phone calls? There's a phone in the common room, but, she lowered her voice. Your file has a note. Your family requested we monitor your calls. They're concerned about you being taken advantage of by scammers. Of course they were. I was being isolated, cut off from the outside world while my children controlled every aspect of my existence. I needed to be smart about this. If I acted too agitated, too insistent, they'd use it as evidence of my incompetence. I needed to appear calm, rational, cooperative, and I needed to find a way to contact someone who could help. Over the next 3 days, I played the model patient. I went to physical therapy, worked with the walker, did my exercises. I was polite to staff, friendly, engaged. I didn't mention wanting to leave or question the guardianship. And I observed. I noticed that Amy's shift ended at 3 p.m. I noticed that the common room phone was least monitored during dinner time. I noticed that one of the other residents, a man named Frank, had a daughter who visited every evening with her phone. On Thursday evening, while most residents were at dinner, I approached Frank's daughter in the hallway. "Excuse me, I'm terribly sorry to bother you, but I'm in a difficult situation. My children have had me placed here against my will, and I need to contact a lawyer. Would you be willing to let me use your phone for one call? I'll pay you back."
Claire looked uncertain. "I don't know. That seems like something you should talk to your family about." "My family is the problem. Please, I'm not confused. I'm not incompetent. I'm being held here illegally and I need help." She studied my face. Whatever she saw there convinced her. "One call. Make it quick." I called the only lawyer I knew personally, Robert Chen, who'd handled my wife's estate 35 years ago. He was probably retired by now, but his office might have a referral. A woman answered. "Chen and Associates." "This is James Harrison. I'm trying to reach Robert Chen. It's an emergency." "Mr. Chen retired 5 years ago, but his son David took over the practice. Can I have David call you back?" "I'm at Riverside Extended Care Facility. I don't have a phone. Can you have him come see me? Today, if possible. It's urgent." "Let me check his schedule. Can you tell me what this is regarding?" "Illegal guardianship. Elder abuse. I need help immediately." There was a pause. "He can be there in 2 hours."
David Chen arrived at 7 p.m., carrying a briefcase and a legal pad. He was maybe 40, professional, with his father's sharp eyes. "Mr. Harrison, my receptionist said this was urgent. Tell me what's happening." I told him everything. The surgery, waking up here, the guardianship, Marcus and Linda's claims about my mental state, the restrictions on my freedom. David took notes, asked questions. "Have you seen the guardianship paperwork?" "No, they mentioned it but didn't show me." "That's a red flag. In New York, you're entitled to notice and a hearing before guardianship is granted. If you didn't receive that notice, the guardianship might be invalid." I had no hearing. I was unconscious in a hospital and then here. "Did you have a lawyer representing you at the hearing?" "I didn't even know there was a hearing." David's expression darkened. "Mr. Harrison, I need to pull the court records, but from what you're telling me, this sounds like guardianship fraud. It's more common than people think. Family members claim someone is incompetent, rush through a guardianship petition while the person is hospitalized or otherwise unable to defend themselves, then take control of their assets." "My assets? I hadn't even thought about that. What do you mean?" "Who has power of attorney over your finances?" "I don't have a power of attorney. I never signed one." "With guardianship, Marcus and Linda would have legal control of your finances. They can access your accounts, sell your property, make financial decisions on your behalf." My stomach dropped. "I have about $5 million in retirement accounts and investments, and the house, it's worth maybe $1 million. $6 million is a strong motive for fraud." David closed his notebook. "Here's what I'm going to do. I'm filing an emergency motion first thing tomorrow morning to challenge the guardianship. I'm going to request an immediate competency evaluation by an independent psychiatrist, and I'm going to get copies of all the paperwork, the guardianship petition, the psychiatric evaluation, everything. If they rush this through without proper notice, a judge will overturn it." "How long will that take?" "A few days to a week. Can you hold on that long?" "Do I have a choice?" "Not really. But, Mr. Harrison, don't let them know you've contacted me. Act cooperative. The more competent and rational you appear, the stronger our case." After David left, I felt hope for the first time in 6 days. I had an advocate, someone who believed me, who understood what was happening. I went back to being the model patient. Therapy, meals, polite conversation. I didn't ask to leave, didn't argue, didn't give them any ammunition. 3 days later, David called me in the common room. "Judge Morrison granted the emergency hearing. It's tomorrow at 2 p.m. The facility has to transport you to court. And, Mr. Harrison, I've seen the paperwork. It's bad." "How bad?" "The guardianship petition claims you have advanced dementia, that you're a danger to yourself, that you've been found wandering confused multiple times. The psychiatric evaluation from the hospital says you were hallucinating, combative, unable to answer basic orientation questions. They have medical records indicating cognitive decline." "That's not true. None of that is true." "I know, because I also got your actual medical records from Dr. Chen, your surgeon. Her notes say you were lucid and appropriate before surgery, that you experienced brief post-anesthetic delirium that resolved within 24 hours, completely normal for your age. The psychiatric evaluation they submitted to the court, it's for a different patient, a 78-year-old woman named Margaret Winters who actually does have dementia. Someone took her evaluation and put your name on it." "They forged medical records?" "Worse. They found a real psychiatric evaluation of a real patient with dementia and submitted it with your name on it. That's a felony. And Mr. Harrison, I checked your financial accounts. Marcus transferred $200,000 from your retirement account to his personal account 3 days ago. Linda sold your house yesterday to herself for $400,000, half what it's worth." I couldn't speak. My own children stealing from me, lying to courts, imprisoning me so they could liquidate my assets. "The judge is not going to be happy," David continued, "but we need you to be sharp tomorrow. They're going to argue you're confused, incompetent. You need to prove otherwise." The hearing the next day was in Judge Morrison's chambers, not a full courtroom. Me, David, Marcus, Linda, and their lawyer, a slick man named Peterson, and a court reporter. Judge Morrison was a woman in her 60s, gray hair, reading glasses, no-nonsense expression. She reviewed the files in front of her, then looked up. Counselor Chen, you're filing an emergency motion to vacate guardianship. You're claiming fraud. That's a serious allegation. Yes, Your Honor. My client, Mr. Harrison, never received notice of the guardianship proceeding. He was never appointed counsel. He never had the opportunity to contest the petition. Furthermore, the psychiatric evaluation submitted to the evidence is fraudulent. Peterson stood. Your Honor, that's absurd. Mr. Harrison was evaluated by a licensed psychiatrist at the hospital. The evaluation clearly shows... The evaluation, David interrupted, is for a different patient, a 78-year-old woman named Margaret Winters who actually does have dementia. Someone took her evaluation and put your name on it. Judge Morrison's expression hardened. Do you have proof of this? David handed her documents. This is the original evaluation with Mrs. Winters' name. This is the version submitted to the court with Mr. Harrison's name. Note the inconsistencies. The evaluation refers to the patient as she multiple times, mentions a daughter that visits daily. Mr. Harrison has no daughters, only a son and a daughter. It's clearly a different patient's file.
The judge read in silence. Then she looked at Peterson, at Marcus, at Linda. Explain this. Peterson was sweating. Your Honor, there must have been an administrative error. The hospital didn't submit this, David said. Your clients did. And there's more. Since the guardianship was granted, Marcus Harrison transferred $200,000 from his father's retirement account. Linda Harrison purchased her father's house from the estate for $400,000, half its market value. They've been liquidating his assets. Your Honor, Peterson tried, these are legitimate transactions to pay for Mr. Harrison's care. A $200,000 transfer to Marcus's personal account? A house sale to Linda at half price? Judge Morrison removed her glasses. Mr. Harrison, I'd like to ask you some questions directly. Yes, Your Honor. What is today's date? November 15th, 2024. Who is the current president? I answered. Then she asked about my medical history, my living situation, my finances. I answered every question clearly, accurately, completely. Mr. Harrison, you seem perfectly competent to me. Is there any reason you believe you need a guardian? No, Your Honor. I went in for knee surgery. I woke up imprisoned in a nursing home. My children stole my money and sold my house. I want the guardianship revoked, and I want them prosecuted. Judge Morrison turned to Marcus and Linda. Do either of you want to explain yourselves? Marcus tried. Your Honor, we were trying to protect our father. He's getting older, living alone. By forging medical documents? By stealing his money? By selling his house to yourself? The judge's voice was cold. Counselor Peterson, I hope you had no knowledge of this fraud, because if you did, you'll be facing bar complaints along with criminal charges. Peterson went pale. Your Honor, I relied on the documents my clients provided. If they're fraudulent, I had no knowledge. You're going to want to retain separate counsel. Judge Morrison signed a document. The guardianship is hereby vacated. Mr. Harrison, you're free to leave. Counselors, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Marcus and Linda Harrison, you're ordered to return all funds taken from your father's accounts and reverse the house sale within 30 days. If you don't, I'll hold you in contempt. She looked at them with disgust. Get out of my chambers. I walked out of that courthouse with David beside me, free for the first time in 9 days. What happens now? I asked. Now we file a civil suit to recover damages, and the DA will decide whether to press criminal charges. Guardianship fraud, filing false documents, elder abuse, theft. They're looking at serious time if convicted. Marcus and Linda were charged 6 weeks later with guardianship fraud, filing false documents, elder abuse, grand larceny, and conspiracy. The DA called it one of the most egregious elder abuse cases in 20 years.
The trial took 3 months. The evidence was overwhelming. Dr. Chen testified about my actual post-surgery condition. The fraudulent psychiatric evaluation was exposed. Financial records showed the $200,000 transfer, the below-market house sale. Their lawyer, Peterson, testified about their premeditated plan in exchange for immunity.
Most damning were emails between Marcus and Linda. Have you thought more about the guardianship idea? Dad's not getting any younger. If we wait, he might transfer everything to charity. The surgery is our window. While he's hospitalized, we move fast. Foster will write whatever we need. The jury deliberated 6 hours, guilty on all counts. Marcus got 4 years, Linda got 3. Full restitution plus damages, nearly $2 million. I got my house back, though Linda had already started moving her things in. I recovered most of the stolen money, and I learned a lesson I never thought I'd need to learn. Your own family can be your worst enemy. I'm 71 now. I still live in the house I built. I had my knee replacement recovery at home with a private nurse, not my children. I've changed my will. Everything goes to charity now. Marcus and Linda get nothing. People ask if I'm bitter. I tell them I'm realistic. My children saw me as a $6 million asset to be liquidated. They were willing to imprison me, forge documents, destroy my freedom to get that money. That's not love. That's greed. I share my story now to warn others. Guardianship abuse is real. It's growing, and it often starts exactly the way mine did, during a hospital stay, when you're vulnerable, when you can't defend yourself. If you're having surgery, especially as an older adult, tell people you trust. Give someone outside your immediate family your lawyer's contact information. Make sure multiple people know where you'll be and when you should be released. And if you have significant assets, protect them. Don't assume your children have your best interests at heart. Some do. Mine didn't. My name is James Harrison. I'm a 71-year-old retired engineer who went in for knee surgery and woke up kidnapped by his own children. But I fought back. I won. And I'm telling my story so others know they can fight back too. Because the scariest predators aren't strangers. They're the people who call you dad and see dollar signs when they look at you. Stay vigilant, stay protected, and never assume it can't happen to you. Because I never thought it could happen to me either. Until it did.